Did I have to be this creative for my video? Probably not. So we are sitting on my roof today to talk about my spring favorites. I thought it would be a fun video to do, but I often find that like videos where people are just talking right to the camera for a long period of time can also be kind of boring. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of switch up the locations today. The chipmunks really just try to make the most noise while I'm here. I wanted to first talk about like my mental health slash like well-being favorite, and the first thing on that list is definitely therapy. I know it's a super big privilege to be able to even be in therapy because of the cost of it. Trust me, I know therapy is very expensive, but as someone with like depression and anxiety and all of that, it's been something that's been really helpful for me as a tool to deal with my mental health. And it did take me a long time to actually decide that I wanted to go into therapy and to actually reach out for help. I think part of that is just I had this like internalized stigma towards mental health. Also growing up in like an Asian household, it can be really hard to want to reach out for help almost. It's kind of that thing of like you always feel like you have to be very independent and succeeding at all times. Moving on, journaling has also been a really big favorite of mine. And this is something where it's like I never expected myself to be one of those girls that like journal every day. To me, having depression, that sounds like a nightmare. Like having something on my to-do list to do that I have to do every single day and like forcing myself to sit with my emotions for like 30 minutes sounds like not something that I want to be doing, but it has been really helpful. Going for walks, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it's good for your mental health, but it's one of those things where you're like, it seems so easy that I don't even want to like do it, because then it feels like I'm like proving that theory right in a way where you're like, no, it can't be that easy. But it honestly is, and I like to encourage myself to go for daily walks just with like a podcast and honestly bringing snacks, because for me the point of like going for walks isn't to like lose weight. So I'm like chill, like a bagel or like a granola bar. Oh, actually, I have 2 things left. Working outside of my bedroom. Again, this is a privilege as well to have the space to do so and to not have, you know, family running around your house. Being in quarantine has really isolated all of us to our bedrooms for the most part. So just getting out to even like the kitchen to do my work there has been really helpful for my mental health. And it kind of causes that separation where it's like almost going to the office. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is making videos. Making videos has been such a great kind of creative hobby for myself. This has been a really great way for me to connect with other people, and I really appreciate all of the messages that I've been getting. They're really sweet. Like my last video that I filmed, 2 separate people told me that it made them cry. So to be able to make other people feel things as deeply as I do is all I could ask for, really. Next are my fashion favorites. I've currently been loving this Fisherman sweater from Aritzia, and it really was inspired by Rory Gilmore's famous sweater in The Gilmore Girls. And I like to pair it with some stacked gold jewelry. These are from Ana Luisa as well as Majuri. But the true star of the show are these rings from Medea. They are so gorgeous. I had to get them when I saw them on Instagram. The green one specifically kind of reminds me of the jewelry in the movie Turning Red. I've pretty much been wearing these daily, and they were nice enough to actually offer a discount code for all of you for 25% off. So go use this code and you'll get 25% off. I've also been loving these brown Oakenfort trousers that I've been looking for forever, and I like to pair them with my new Boston Birkenstocks that my friends gifted me for my birthday in December, which I'm finally breaking out for the spring. And my last fashion favorite is this super comfy crew neck from Oakenfort, which Tyler got me. Welcome to my bedroom. We are going to be talking about my favorite like shows and movies recently. I have a little list on my phone here. Number 1 is Gilmore Girls. This isn't like ordered, but honestly it is one of those shows that are just really good to rewatch in like the spring and in the fall. It really fits the vibe. Plus it has really good romance plot lines and that like Ivy League academia vibe to it if you're into that. I will say Rory, the main character, is a little bit annoying, but the show makes up for it in other ways, and the fashion remains one of my inspirations. I'm always pinning their stuff on my Pinterest board. Moving on, Snowpiercer is one of my favorite shows, I would say, of honestly all time. Like, I know that's a little bit high expectations to set for y'all, But Snowpiercer, so it's basically this dystopian show after the world has ended. The world is essentially frozen over, and so everyone that's left on the planet is essentially left on this train that just circles the planet over and over again. And on that train, there's kind of like a war between the classes. There's like first class, second class, third class. As you can imagine, it has some messages about, you know, the world as it is. But yeah, one of my favorite shows ever if you're into that whole like dystopian world kind of trope. Next would be Attack on Titan. I only recently got up to date with this because before I think I'd only watched like season 1. If you haven't watched animes before, I would say that it's also a really good entry-level anime, but yeah, I don't think I need to talk about it because everyone knows this anime. The 100, again, one of my favorite ever thrillers or dystopian shows. Can you tell that's like my favorite genre? But the 100 is essentially about another world where the world has ended. The planet has pretty much been desolated by environmental troubles and war and things like that. And so the remainder of the population is living up in space in a spacecraft, but they're running out of oxygen, and so they choose to send 100 juvenile delinquents down to Earth to see if Earth is survivable. So really cool. It's kind of like the teenage experience, but during a dystopian world. I'd say that it has really, really good character arc. Next is Bridgerton season 2. Literally no description needed. I'm honestly gonna skip. Encanto, such a good movie this year. I feel like Encanto is one of those movies where I rewatch whenever I'm feeling sad because the music is such a bop, like it just gets you in a good mood. I think I rewatched it literally 2 or 3 times within the same week that I had watched it for the first time. The last movie I will speak to is Booksmart. I rewatched this recently, I think because it came out like a year or 2 ago. But honestly, it remains one of my favorite movies. If you've seen the movie Superbad with Jonah Hill, Jonah Hill's younger sister actually plays one of the main characters in this movie, so that's a really cool like dynamic there. But it's basically about best friends in high school. They are graduating and they feel like they never went to parties and they've always been the really academic kids, so they kind of go out on this crazy night of adventure. It's absolutely hilarious and it has some really cool LGBTQ plus representation as well. I will also be listing some of my favorite YouTubers at the moment. I feel like I can't go through and like describe each one of them. I will say though, the types of videos that I like to watch are mainly like vloggers as well as video essays. Moving on to books, this is where I tend to do most of my reading. I would say my first favorite book this year so far has been The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. It is such a pretty book cover, first of all, and it is a really long book. I think it's about 600 pages, which my usual book is maybe like 300. But I would say it is my favorite book that I've been reading in a long time, and it's a book that got me out of a reading slump this year. It's essentially about a woman who is cursed to essentially be forgotten by anyone she ever meets, and she also has kind of immortality. She basically just walks through history. It's really interesting to see how she has an impact through art. I'm not someone who's into history, so I was really surprised that I liked this. My next favorite book would be Ready Player One. I don't have a physical copy of this because I read it on my iPad. But yeah, I had to pick this up after Facebook rebranded to Meta. It's essentially a book about a dystopian world, are we surprised, where essentially everyone is too upset with their own real lives to actually kind of live in the real world. They all basically just log into the metaverse every day to kind of live out their lives in there. It essentially ends up being this story about how this billionaire makes this competition so that everyone has to compete in the metaverse to find this prize. If you have seen Sword Art Online or Spy Kids 3, you will love this. Lastly, this is more of like a wellness book. It's called A Teen's Guide to Gut Health. This is one of the books that was my favorite when I figured out that I had IBS, because not only is it really, really good at educating you about digestive health, it also takes it from a lens of like a teenage or university student experience. Like it literally gives you tips of like how to, for example, survive having your IBS when you have to eat off of a meal plan and things like that. And they're things that I continue to use to this day. I am once again changing locations to give y'all some more suggestions. I wanted to talk about podcasts. I usually go on my daily walks and listen to a podcast, so I thought filming outdoors made a lot of sense. But honestly, when it comes to podcasts, I am very picky because I feel like when you don't get to like visually watch something and you're just listening to someone's voice in your ears, it's really easy to get bored or be like, oh, they sound kind of fake, to be honest. So I really like authentic podcasts where it feels like you're having a conversation with a friend, as well as where you can kind of learn something too. So I've been listening to a lot of Bingetopia, a lot of Goes Without Saying, as well as Anything Goes. And then the final recommendation I have, which I feel like I'm obligated as a friend to recommend, is my friend Justin and Ian's podcast, the Justin and Ian podcast. Very original name you guys chose, by the way. But yeah, their podcast is a little bit more crude humor, so be aware if you're not into that stuff. And I might be featured on it soon. Who knows? The other thing I wanted to speak to is my favorite music lately. I made a little spring playlist that I put in my Spotify. You can click on it in the description box to make it easier to listen to all these songs. But I'm mostly into like the indie genre. If you're into that, I think you would like these recommendations. It's Editing Ann here. I completely forgot to mention one of my favorites to do with the music category, and that is brown noise. Brown noise, for some reason, has this like reaction with our bodies that it just calms our nerves. So it is a sound that I really like to use when I'm feeling anxious, or also when I can't sleep. It's really good for insomnia. So if you struggle with any of those things, I definitely recommend. I have a 10-hour version of it on Spotify that I will link in my spring favorites playlist. And then another thing I completely forgot to mention too, is my favorite Instagram pages. So I will put it up on screen, and y'all can go check them out if you think that's interesting. Welcome to my bathroom. This is where I use all of my beauty products. So I wanted to first talk about this Dove antiperspirant. I was one of those girls where I was like, okay, like I'm kind of sweaty, so I'm just gonna keep my arms down. I don't want anyone to see that I'm sweaty or like smell it potentially, and so it was just not a good vibe. Girl, I discovered Dove antiperspirant, and this is the apple and white tea scent, which is my favorite. I think it goes really well with perfumes as well. But I would just say, don't walk, run and get this product, because it was literally cut down on the amount that I even like sweat from my armpits, and it smells absolutely amazing. It doesn't like rub off on our clothing or anything like that. So honestly, this should be sponsored by Dove, which segues really well into the next one, which is the Ordinary Glycolic Acid 7% toning solution. I use this everywhere but my face, okay? I use this on my armpits after the shower because it's like antibacterial, so it gets rid of any stench or odor, and it like allows to not have, I think, bacterial growth and stuff like that. So if you get BO of any sort, this is really great. And the benefit as well of it is that because it's like an acid solution, it also lightens your armpits over time. So if you have trouble with like dark armpits or anything like that, I get out of the shower, I just rub a little down there, and we got that. I also use this on my scalp because it is a little bit of an exfoliant. It's really good for your scalp if you have like dandruff. I personally have psoriasis, so doing this once every 2 weeks or so, just putting it everywhere on my scalp and leaving it in for 30 minutes and then washing it out has been really beneficial at getting rid of all of those like scales on my scalp, and it makes my scalp less itchy. And the other things that I use for my hair now are the Ordinary hair care line. I do use a few of their other products, but I would say these two have been my absolute favorite. I would say that it makes my hair feel a lot less weighed down by product. It feels a lot softer and healthier, and it's just my favorite shampoo and conditioner that I've honestly ever used. It's super affordable, and I cannot see myself ever switching from these. Next, I have a few more things I want to talk about. One is these Essie nail polishes. Essie's regular nail polishes are amazing, specifically the Bordeaux color. I think it's one of the original Essie colors that actually got the company to be like really successful. gorgeous red color. But the other thing that I love is their gel nail polishes. Actually, I'm the girl that I always have nail polish on, but I let it chip until it looks absolutely disgusting. But the gel nail polishes, they come off pretty much as easily as their regular nail polishes, and they chip a lot less quickly. They last forever, and they come in gorgeous colors. Like this color is Dress Call in 180. It is one of my favorite nail polish colors ever, and I get a load of compliments on it. Lipsticks, kind of. First off is this NARS, I think it's called a Lipgasm. I got this from Sephora in my little birthday kit, but honestly, it has such like a velvety feel to it. Like it's not sticky at all like other lip products. And then the other thing that I recommend for my no makeup girlies, I barely ever wear makeup because I'm not talented in that way, but I really like the Burt's Bees lip and cheek stick. Let's just do this on the fly right now. If I apply some on my cheeks, I can just rub it in, and it's basically super natural as someone who doesn't like to really stress about wearing makeup that much. And it's really, really easy if you're trying to just do a little bit extra on some odd days. It looks amazing. My last product, sorry, would be perfumes. I only got into perfumes this year, and these two are my pride and joy to mix. I put the Dior J'adore on my wrists, and then I put the Chloe, I think it's like a tangerine scent, on my chest, and together it's just this beautiful scent. You can also wear each on their own. I totally do that as well. This one's a little bit more like sweeter, a little bit girlier, still that like floral scent, and it's great for beginners, I would say. And then this one is a little bit muskier, a little bit more mature, still very like floral and citrus, but that's why I really like mixing both, because I feel like they work really, really well together. Let's talk about miscellaneous things on my random carpet. I don't know, I'm running out of locations, okay? But number one is this water bottle. It is a 1 liter water bottle by Nalgene, and this is my second one of these. As you know, in my last vlog, I lost mine, but I had to replace it with one that is almost identical because they sold out of the one from Peace Collective, and it honestly has improved my hydration so much because I know I only need to drink 2 of these in a day, and I just lug it around with me all the time. Next, I have my heating pad. This is honestly my saving grace. As someone with IBS and as someone who gets her period, you know, I get cramps. And this is my saving grace, because imagine this, you just get to come home after a long day, you sit in bed, you put on your little heating pad, you got the little button, you click it to the setting that you want, you plug it in, you don't have to get up to heat it back up again. You just gotta sit there, chillax, watch your favorite show, eat some of your favorite foods, and it's amazing. Yeah, so those are my completed favorites. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the different locations as well. But yeah, I'm gonna get off of this roof now because it's freaking cold, I'm not gonna lie. And there's a lot of really cool, fun stuff happening because I'll be moving back to Toronto over the summer and interning there. So make sure you subscribe, like, all that stuff, you know. Bye.